morning and welcome to Smart Means of Business. It's exactly 7 a.m. and it's the 15th of September. Yes, and it's a new day. Yes, we are in the middle of the month actually, and if you had made some prospects to ensure that actually you achieve them in this month, this is the right time to check and see how far you've gone in terms of achieving what you ought to achieve. And of course, don't forget Smart 24 TV on Go TV, that's channel 394, DSTV, channel 372, and you can be able to catch us at whatever part of the globe you are to get the business information that is happening locally and also globally at large. And I officially welcome you to the segment of the news recap, where we go through the previous day's news stories as we review what really transpired, to give you a hint and actually a little brief light so that you get more equipped with business ideologies and ideas which are going to be very, very influential for you to internalize, and you're going to apply them, and trust me, they always work. And to kick off the hour, we're going to start with the data bundle usage. First of all, did you know that the gadget you use determines the amount of data consumed? Let's have the details of this report as experts further give us more hints.
Prior to the President's statement to the ministers in August of this year, the merging of parastatals had been planned for years but had not yet been put in action. With the help of economic specialists, Smart 24 TV looked into the effect of merging parastatals, and a number of factors were highlighted.
So for government, it is about the agencies that are doing almost the same type of work, that is duplication. But they can, if they were consolidated into one, they can even do it better, at a lesser cost, more effective, and also on.
Data bundles are essential packages with a cap on the number of bytes for internet access through a mobile device. For instance, 1 GB of data is offered in bundles at a certain price. The value of the data bundle varies according to the amount paid by the user. The more the user pays, the more bytes they receive. The chairman of the Internet Service Providers Association, Godfrey Seram Koko, goes into further detail on how internet data is used in various industries.
The phones will use normally their mobile network operator. If you're an MTN, you use your MTN bundles, you buy MTN bundles. If you use Airtel, if you use like a mobile, if you use Smile, normally you will prefer the person's SIM card in your phone is what you use. But then there is the other side of internet. People who use computers, use laptops that can take physical connections. They also have different providers that have preferences. Businesses do not, the use of internet is not only for chatting and browsing. Some people use it as business connections. So if you ask URA what it uses internet for, people make payments there. People use it to pay, to collect tax as URA. If you look at banks use it to do trading, forex trading. So I would not use a mobile phone to do business trading.
Chris Variomusi, the Minister of ICT, explains the resolutions to the limited access to the internet.
Assessment done by a report from NITAU indicates that the majority of Ugandans and Ugandan households have no access or limited access to internet. And what strategies are we putting in place? One, we have designed programs to extend the national backbone infrastructure to the rest of the country, because we have been laying the national cable. The cable, we are now in about 62, we have covered about 62% of the country. But we are now coming with another phase where we are going to lay that national backbone infrastructure cable to the rest of the country, and also we do what we call last mile connections.
Data bundles, as opposed to using airtime, allow you to quickly determine whether or not a usage would be profitable without performing any computations. You can see what you have and know what you want to get with the data bundles. Data flow does in fact depend on the type of the device being used.
To use the analogy of a car, if we go to the same wedding function and we are taking pictures, and a person with an iPhone 256 GB or even bigger in terms of storage is taking photographs with a phone with a huge processor, a good pixel camera, probably 128 megapixel of a camera, and you have your small, I will not put names, but you have your phone, your budget phone, probably it has just 2 megapixels of a camera, it has probably 64 GB of storage. Then we start clicking away on taking photographs. This car phone will get full before this one gets full. This one is actually a mini computer. So we then start sharing those photographs with our friends. If we start sharing, who will share more photographs? The one with the bigger storage will share more. So if we bought the same bundle at the same time, you understand, the one of a bigger phone, it's taking a high resolution photos. The one of this smaller phone, lower resolution photos, but also fewer photos. So his bundle probably will still be available, and mine of a bigger phone will be gone.
Apparently, we want to consume more than what we can afford. Take for instance, you want to watch a YouTube video and you have, let's say, 500 MBs on your phone. We have two options. You can use either the HD and the SD. And most people would prefer the most clear picture, which is HD, which consumes a lot of data. If you know that you want to use your 500 MBs like in a slow way and in a right way, you can opt for the SD. That's if you cannot afford watching from the HD viewpoint. Also, there is also a possibility of the kind of gadget you're holding accounts for the amount of data you use. Take for example, you're using an iPhone, let's say download a video from YouTube. It will take you a lot of data. Reason being, iPhones happen to be so fast when it comes to downloading. Then you can also take, for example, on another phone, let's say a Techno, and you're downloading the same video. Fine, it will take a slow pace, but it will give you a different quality of a picture from what you downloaded using an iPhone. So it so happens that the amount of rendering the video also consumes a lot of data.
With the current that's worldwide change, incorporation of the internet is unavoidable for a variety of businesses, and of course this necessitating appropriate management and utilization of data. And this is how experts are relating to how one's data consumption depends on the gadget they actually hold into their hands. Yes, so that one is very, very important aspect to understand that, because it's going to help you manage your data efficiently. And now let's go over, let's cross over to the merging of parastatals, as this was suggested by President Yoweri Museveni as a way of reducing government expenditure and also a strategy to help government recover the debt burden. Experts in this regard have come out to argue out that why wasn't this implemented at the very first place? Let's have the details of this report.
Prior to the president's statement to the ministers in August of this year, the merging of parastatals had been planned for years, but had not yet been put in action. With the help of economic specialists, Smart24 TV looked into the effect of merging parastatals, and a number of factors were highlighted.
So for government, it is about the agencies that are doing almost the same type of work, that is duplication. But they can, if they were consolidated into one, they can even do it better, at a lesser cost, more effective, and also on time and on budget. And we have been giving examples. One is the Public Service Commission, for example. Their job is to recruit public servants.
Yeah.
The Health Service Commission, their job is to recruit health workers. But health workers are also public servants. The Education Service Commission is to recruit teachers. Teachers are also public servants. So if you bring all of them under one roof, it means that you are saving on time in terms of people accessing the service, because the service is going to be under one roof. You are saving on expenditure because you have only one board.
Yes, I think restructuring government is long overdue. And government strategy should not be only about eliminating certain agencies. It should be a holistic approach aimed at eliminating duplication of roles, because you realize that even if you keep a ministry, but where roles have been duplicated, I mean, you have possibly 5 officers doing more or less the same thing. In my view, that still becomes a leakage. You still have to pay money for work that is not done, or for work that otherwise would be done by one person, but we are paying 5 people to do it. So it's a good move, it's a good thing. It will help cut down on the cost of administration.
CEO of CS Bank, Julius Mugunda, defended the decision to merge parastatals by arguing that the government can reduce the national debt, which has reached trillion-dollar levels.
At the saving, we can pay our debt, which is now in 93 trillion. This financial year, we are likely to get around 12 trillion in terms of domestic borrowing, 7 trillion in terms of external borrowing. 1 trillion is huge. We are going to pay 6 trillion in interest payments. So really, it's huge to reduce on the burden of the debt that we're having in this country. So that's really one of the things that I think rationalization will help.
Experts advised the government to continue with the strategy, saying that it will help to improve Uganda's economic situation.
We want to look at countries that have not done so and are very far, because no country should do a mistake and then collect it again. We made a mistake, but we know there are countries that are running smaller, leaner, effective governments. Why don't we follow those ones? Just even within the region, we have the highest number of members of parliament. Why don't we reduce on that one? The highest number of districts. Kenya have counties. But just imagine how many districts we have in this country. You go to compare ourselves with, go to India, they have 1.3 billion people. But come to Uganda, with 44 million people, our parliament, the numbers are more than those of the Indians.
You know, we need to reduce cabinet. You have more than 81 ministers. You need to reduce the officers of RDCs. You need to downsize several institutions. And make sure that you put money in agriculture, put money in education, put money in infrastructure, put money in roads and so forth. The appeal is that the people of this country must push government to invest in industrialization and job creation.
With the ongoing misuse of the public funds, the civil society organizations believe that the government, to limit some of its expenses, it should go on with merging of its parastatals. For example, UNEB should take on all examination boards like UAHEB, UBTEB, among others.
That's regarding the merging of the parastatals. And of course, the national debt of Uganda has reached 79 trillion shillings, leaving each Ugandan with a debt of about 1.8 million Ugandan shillings, leaving the government stranded. President Yoweri Museveni discussed merging parastatals as a measure of reducing that's government expenditure, of course, while speaking with the ministers. And this is where economic experts came and presented a variety of arguments for why this wasn't implemented for many years. Of course, that's regarding that particular story, merging of the parastatals as a way to reduce government expenditure. And now let's cross over to the revival of the arts and the creative industry, as it's a set of UNESCO recommendations for measuring and gathering data on the economic contribution of the culture industries. Let's have the details of this report.
Through advertising, architecture, books, newspapers, magazines, video games and movies, as well as music, performing arts, radio, television and visual arts, the creative arts industry is one of the sectors that significantly contributes to the growth of Uganda's tourism industry on a global scale. The same industry continues to make a significant contribution to lowering Uganda's unemployment gap.
On the art and culture scene of Uganda for the past 20-25 years. Yes. So I weave between music, art, culture, theatre, cinema. I've been in all those spaces.
According to analytical projections, the economy receives an estimated Ugandan shillings 3.18 trillion in total company income from culture and creative arts. This income represented about 3% of Uganda's projected $4.43 billion total GDP in 2021. The government has pledged to encourage creative industries and culture.
We are now at the high apex level of legislation to ensure that the culture and creative industry have space and their artifacts are able to produce returns they are worth of. As we speak right now, we are interfacing with the Ministry of Justice and Constitutional Affairs actually this afternoon to ensure that the corporate law is enforced, is strengthened, and is reviewed. First of all, a conducive environment within which each one is able to participate and practice their cultural heritage without any interference. The presence and the preservation of the National Cultural Center, even during the rationalization, the National Cultural Center was intact, left behind because it has interest, the country has interest in protecting culture.
Uganda exports $239 million worth of creative products and services worth about shillings 427 billion. If the government, through the Ministry of Gender, Labour and Rural Development, committed a reasonable subvention to the creative industries, culture industries, this would be a miraculous impact on strengthening and organizing the sector for employment, job creation for Ugandans, especially the youth, both educated and uneducated, skilled and unskilled.
The creative arts industry of Uganda employs over 70% of Uganda's youth. Though government has not paid much needed attention to the potential that the arts industry can play in turning around this economy.
Welcome back from that, and that's regarding the development of the art and crafts industry, and of course the potential of the culture and creative sectors promote sustainable development and generate that's equitable employment opportunities, attracting and increasing attention on the global scale. See how very profitable the art industry is, and if given that much attention, it can be very, very influential on the growth and development of the national economy, and in particular giving employment to the unemployed, which are majorly the youths. And now let's cross over to the financial reporting awards. It's very important for any business to keep stable financial records as a way of establishing its brand. Now, stakeholders formed 2022 Financial Reporting Awards, aiming to improve the quality of business reporting. Let's have the details.
The award goes tech. You're also free to send them online, and you use www.icpau.co.ug/Fire Awards.
The Certified Public Accountants of Uganda, in partnership with Capital Market Authority and Uganda Securities Exchange, have yet organized another financial reporting award in Uganda. But what's the benefits of this award? It helps most of the government entities and private entities to learn how to write the best financial reports that can be fronted before the financial funders and get loans. Stakeholders are saying that since 2007, they have been organizing this award, and they have recorded a significant impact on how companies are writing their financial reports. Typically done on a quarterly or annual basis, financial reporting is the process of recording and conveying financial activities and performance across certain time periods. Financial reports are used by businesses to compile accounting data and provide information on their current financial situation.
Language used to break down those terminologies and how they have been displayed or disclosed, and you compare with global banks like Bank of America and HSBC, you say, wow, is this a report from Uganda? To us, that is the impact we are talking about, that our Ugandan entities can no longer be described as local entities. These are global players. And as a result of that, we have seen a lot of foreign investment coming into the country because they have confidence in the financial reporting in the country. And we have seen ICPAU increase membership to over 3,000 members now registered.
Kampala will host the awards ceremony on September 30th, 2022 to encourage the corporate community to adhere to the financial reporting standards.
To see, for example, those in industry and business, those in the public sector, the NGOs and many other players in the economy of Uganda comply with these financial reporting standards as adopted by the Institute. But there was a very heated debate, and the debate was, how should we check this compliance? Should we go the stick way and probably follow up these entities and check how do they do their reporting?
According to reports, the overall goal of the Financial Reporting Awards is to improve the quality of financial and business reporting in Uganda to encourage the implementation of best practices.
You do proper and effective financial reporting, you become attractive to funders, and you can easily mobilize financial support. Of course, also one of the standards that are being used are those international financial reporting standards for small and medium entities. Not many companies in our countries are making use of this standard.
Raising capital, and remember, when you present these reports, we can get banks like DFCU, we can get companies in the pharmaceutical sector like CIPRA, we can get those in manufacturing that become much more decent and presentable to investors.
One downside of using financial accounts for decision-making is that facts and figures are based on the current market conditions. Executives' judgment will stay at the same or increase because the market is unpredictable and can change suddenly.
Financial reports or statements provide information that's on a company's annual revenue, which allows financial planners spot trends and in sales and data over time. So you can see it's very important to ensure that you can actually have your financial reports ready, because one day, one time, you're going to need to be verified. Perhaps you need a bank loan to expand your empire, and they're going to largely depend on your trends. How has your business been performing? How has been the trend of sales into your business? And that will need a financial report. Let's wind this up with wildlife trafficking, as footballers all over East Africa are joining efforts to prevent wildlife crime and trafficking. Let's have the details of this story.
Before the pandemic, Uganda's amazing wildlife helped to draw 1.5 million tourists to the country. International and domestic tourists spent 6 trillion shillings that amounted to 80% of the country's GDP. However, our countrymen's jobs and the wildlife are under an increasing threat that is driven by the increasing surge of the illegal hunting of wildlife. 4.6 tons of ivory, that is amounted to 700 elephants, were intercepted at Uganda's dry ports. The East African Footballers Association today have lended their voice to end wildlife crime. We have more.
Criminals are still making huge amounts of money for themselves, but in the process, they are stealing
Uganda Wildlife proceeded to estimate the market value of various wildlife items.
Of ivory, like around the $50,000 US. So meaning that if you carry one ivory like this, okay, which is 50 kilograms, you can multiply by 50,000 US, then you get how much money that is.
2022, we handed over all wildlife-related products that were in our custody at our customs warehouse in Nakawa. And this included about 6.6 tons of ivory. Now, 6.6 tons of ivory is 6,600 kilograms. You can imagine how many elephants lost their lives. We also handed over 11 kilograms of hippopotamus teeth, 3 skins of pythons, 20 kilograms of buffalo horns, and other assorted products, a number of leopard skins, pangolin scales. We actually handed over about 766 kilograms of pangolin scales. A pangolin weighs about 1.5 kilograms. Now, when we talk about 766 kilograms of the scales alone, you can imagine how many pangolins have been killed in order to harvest their scales. So those are part of the items we have intercepted as URA.
The United States ambassador to Uganda emphasizes on the consequences of poaching on wildlife.
I've also seen the harm that poachers can inflict. Last year, I was with Director Mwanda at Murchison Falls National Park, where I saw an elephant struggling to feed itself and struggling to drink because it lost more than half of its trunk to a poacher snare. So while Uganda's tourism industry relies heavily on wildlife and natural resources, the sector faces enormous challenges.
According to the Minister of State for Tourism, the penalty for breaching of the legislation will be severe.
Poaching, getting involved in wildlife crime, but also this illicit trading of wildlife, illegal trading of wildlife. The penalty is really stringent. That's what I'm saying. The maximum penalty is actually a life sentence, but also paying a fine of even up to 20 billion shillings. So it is really deterrent. And there are so many people that have been affected, and they felt. But of course, we also want to thank the communities for supporting conservation, really. They give us the intelligence, they help us in giving us the information.
That's regarding that's wildlife trafficking. East African footballers from Uganda, Kenya, and Tanzania are joining a new initiative to stop wildlife crime, and of course, accompanied with illegal trafficking of wildlife and products, and of course, sold into other areas through the area's ports and cargo terminals. Workers in the shipping sector are cooperating, of course, with the team by keeping and smuggled and container shipments. Of course, the governments of both countries, the East African countries, have set up telephone hotlines for citizens to report a wildlife crime. And that's it for the news recap. And now we are going to get into a short commercial break with Joram Paul Sonko is going to be driving you through. That's the remaining part of the show. I'll be joining you again on SMB on ground, but this time around we shall be discussing the population census. What the normal person thinks about a population census. Good morning, stick around.